Hello my motocross friends, welcome to the latter point of this video where you're going to see me get off the motorcycle and see my old man get on the motorcycle. That's right, this GoPro footage that you are now seeing is my dad hopping on the bike and spinning some laps at Thunder Valley MX. So if you ever had the opportunity to ride with your father out at the track and built some awesome memories, drop a like on this video and drop some comments. Tell me about your experience, what that was like for you growing up, or as a dad now riding with your kids. I know it's been a special time for he and I throughout the years, and some of our most cherished memories have actually come recently, you know, with us both being adults and getting to have the friendship that we have and just enjoying moto weeks like this one. This was actually the second day of our guys' moto trip that has now become a yearly thing. So you saw me post a video on Leadville. That is the day one of our trip. And then day two of the moto trip, which ends up physically being a couple days later, is here at Thunder Valley. And then we ended up riding one more time over the course of the week, and that was later on at IMI. I don't have footage of that one, but as you can imagine, it was also a fun time. Now I want to talk about Thunder Valley here for a moment, because if you're like me and you'd watched it on TV for years before you ever had the opportunity to actually ride it, you'd probably think that the whole track looks like Unadilla does on TV, which is really deep ruts down the straightaways, in the corners, wherever else. There's off cambers all over the place, you know, first gear starts, all that sort of fun stuff. And I gotta tell you, that's in part true, but not in totality. So if you go ride this track on any given recreational ride day, as opposed to a race day or especially National Week, you will find that the track is actually not ripped very deep, and it's not watered nearly as much as it would be on those big race events. So what you end up with is a much more hard pan track. You do get some ruts, especially in some of the tighter turns, but for the most part you're avoiding the major trenches in the straightaways or anything like that. Part of this track that does live up to its name, as previously mentioned, is it's at high elevation, so even on a fuel-injected bike you definitely notice the lack of power. There are also a lot of off-camber turns on this track, so especially on days where it's not ripped very deep and you've got those loose pebbles up top, you have to be really steady on the throttle control so as not to lose the rear end and go sideways. The other thing that definitely lives up to the hype is the fact that they build some big jumps. So there's the triple that everybody knows about, and you saw my dad hit it in this video. You know, not bad for an almost 60-year-old, right? Again, drop a like for him down below, because that's pretty spectacular. He and I both had to work up to that over the course of the day. By the way, that's me right there that you see riding past. Try not to roost him too much, you know, but we had some fun riding together, and it's cool we get to do this kind of stuff. But anyway, track is loose. There are a lot of off cambers. The jumps are massive, especially the jump faces, even for some of the smaller jumps, such as the finish line. The first time you hit that thing, you can't see the landing and it shoots you to the moon. So it's really a track that requires some balls to go out and ride, but also some pretty substantial bike skill. I'd go out on a limb and say if you can ride this track fast, chances are you can ride most tracks pretty well. Maybe with the exception of a really deep sand track, that's still a different type of riding. But all in all, Thunder Valley is a great training ground. It's a really gnarly track. It's part of why I don't ride it too often. And then with the hills, it just requires way more physical exertion than a track like IMI that's relatively flat. Let me know what you think of this track. Personally, I think it's a lot of fun. It's a good change up from the norm, but maybe it's not my favorite track in the world. Anyway, I hope you're having a great day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.